A simple woman was mocked for standing too close to the ring, for holding a mop instead of gloves, for her gray janitor's shirt and shoes that squeaked when she walked. They called her the cleaning lady. The lost maintenance, in turn, even joked that she was there to disinfect the losers. One coach asked if she wanted to box the trash can. A trainee offered to teach her how to sweep the corners, since that was all she'd ever touch in the gym. And then she picked up the mop, cleaned the ring, and in one round broke the local champion's guard like it was made of paper. The gym went quiet, and then the head coach walked in and called her partner. Cliffside Athletic was 2 gyms under one roof. In the back, it was leather and blood, scratched mats, frayed ropes, bruised fighters moving in rhythm with tape around their hands and ice packs strapped to ribs. That was the real gym. Up front, it was all gloss and show, boutique locker rooms, branded shakes, LED-lit mirrors, taller than most of the people standing in front of them. The front desk was manned by 2 trainers with identical jawlines and shirts tight across the chest. Everything was a performance. Memberships weren't cheap, and neither were the shoes. Everyone knew where you belonged just by looking. She came in early with the cleaning cart, rolled it past the vending fridge without speaking, and started the circuit. The wheels squeaked every few steps. Her badge bounced against her leg, clipped low to a belt loop. First name only staff. She wore a faded gray tee tucked into navy work pants and an old blue sweatshirt knotted around her waist. Her shoes were flat-soled, cracked at the sides, soles gummy with wear. Nobody looked twice. Not until she stepped too close to the ring. It wasn't even a full step, just a shift. A trainer had spilled pre-workout all over the bench, and she moved in with a towel, reaching to clean the edge of the platform. That was all it took. "Yo, janitor's getting brave today," someone called out. It was Eli Grant, one of the gym's weekend warriors, who thought his 6 amateur wins made him Floyd Mayweather. He was shirtless, gloves half-laced, already grinning at his own joke. "Careful, sweetheart. Step in there, and the mop's going to have to fight for you." A couple of the guys on the treadmills laughed. A woman stretching near the water cooler pulled out her phone, tilted it slightly toward the ring. Another voice added, "At least the place will be clean when she's knocked out." Eli raised a glove and pointed it at her, performing now. "You want 1 round? I promise not to bleed on your shoes." She didn't answer, just wrung out the towel and wiped the last of the chalk dust from the mat's edge. "Maybe she thinks she's part of the program," someone muttered near the heavy bags. "Like, mop your way to muscle. Cliffside's new janitor circuit. First you wipe the sweat, then you earn the bruises." Another voice joined in. More laughter. Phones angled in. A few people started filming without hiding it. The junior coach on shift, a guy named Brandon, who was more biceps than brain, walked over and leaned on the ropes. "Hey, relax," he called to Eli. "Let her finish disinfecting your ego." A few laughs from the crowd. "Then you can get back to pretending you're a real contender." Eli didn't flinch. "I'm serious. Give her gloves. 1 round. It's Friday. Let's entertain the troops." "You're wild," Brandon chuckled, but he didn't say no. The woman cleaning didn't respond. She just packed her towel into the cart's bucket, rinsed it once, and lifted the mop. "Guess that's a yes," someone said, still laughing. "She going to mop the ring or fight in it?" Another voice called out. "Both." And from behind the desk, the other trainer looked up, smirked, and said loud enough for the mirrors to catch it. "If she thinks she's got hands, maybe let her clean while sparring. Kill 2 birds." Brandon waved a hand. "Come on, someone get her gloves. Let's see what the mop girl's got." And just like that, it wasn't a joke anymore. It was a challenge, and everyone was watching. She unlocked the side door at 6:23 like she always did. The hall lights blinked once overhead as she flipped the breakers near the supply closet. The cleaning cart rolled out with a low groan, thudding softly every 3rd rotation. She adjusted the mop handle and wiped her palms on the hem of her sweatshirt. The air inside the gym was still cool and faintly sour, day-old sweat, liniment, and lemon-scented floor cleaner from her own routine the night before. She moved through it all without pause, a rhythm stitched into her muscles. By 6:40, the first bin of towels had been swapped. The mirrors sprayed, the windows unlocked for circulation. The playlist hadn't started yet, so her steps echoed down the polished floor. Her ID badge brushed her hip with each stride. The plastic click, a steady, hollow note. The gym was two-faced at this hour. The back, the ring, the worn benches, the bags with cracked vinyl, felt like it belonged to the sport. The front, where branded merchandise glinted under boutique lighting and selfie tripods leaned near dumbbells, was still asleep. Even the front desk was quiet. Just Kyle, sipping an energy drink, scrolling on his phone, not looking up as she passed with the cart. She didn't expect him to. She cleaned the edges of the ring with tight figure eights. Always clockwise. She didn't need a reason. It just felt right. The floor mats were scuffed, strewn with chalk, and flecked with sweat that hadn't dried right. She sprayed and wiped, then stood and surveyed her work. The mop leaned beside the bench. A water bottle cracked and Cloudy sat in the cart's corner. She took a long sip and reset her stance. At 7:15, the regulars trickled in. The playlist kicked on low, some synth-heavy track built more for pacing than punch. First came the fitness crowd, leggings sharp as glass, men with taped wrists but no bruises. Then the younger boxers, earnest, half awake, dragging gear bags across the tile. She slipped past them all, lifting sweat buckets and sorting hand wraps unnoticed. 2 trainers arrived together. Brandon, the junior coach, with too much volume in his voice. And Tony, the older one, who kept his words close. They didn't see her either. Or maybe they did, but only as part of the space, like a wall or a rack of gloves. She moved when they moved, wiped where they walked, stayed out of their light. At 7:40, she crossed behind the ring to replace the towel stack. It was a small detail, just one that bugged her. The bin under the ropes always sagged after the first session. She ducked under the ropes, careful to stay low, and dragged the clean stack over. Her hand brushed the frame of the ring as she steadied herself, and someone saw her. A slap of sneakers against the mat, a grunt. Eli, stretching his legs near the edge, looked down with a half smirk. "Didn't know janitorial worked ringside now," he said, tossing his towel into the corner. She didn't look up, just moved back under the ropes. Behind her, a few chuckles rippled. A woman filling her shaker bottle by the water fountain looked over her shoulder. Kyle at the desk raised his eyebrows just a flicker and went back to scrolling. She said nothing, just rolled the cart one step back, one to the side, and parked it behind the pillar. The clock above the ring hung crooked, still untouched. 8:12. She had 3 more minutes before the floor would be too crowded to mop. Her hand tightened on the handle, and she adjusted the grip without thinking. The mop tilted in its bucket, gray fibers curling like steam against the plastic edge. That was when Brandon called out loud enough for the treadmills to catch it. "If she's done sanitizing the ring, maybe we let her run around." It wasn't mean. Not exactly. It was the kind of joke the gym was full of, aimed low, meant to land easy. She stood still. A couple of the fighters laughed. One nudged his friend. Phones came out. Screens lit the edge of the mirrors. She moved to the towel bin again, sorted the colors, checked the lid. By then, the joke had spread. The back corner repeated it. Let her go around. I'd spar her. Might learn something about how to clean a canvas. No one thought she'd answer. And she didn't. But she stayed just long enough to be noticed. Just long enough to give them what they didn't yet realize they'd asked for. She was wiping down the edge of the ring when someone called out, "Hey, mop girl, you're up next, right?" Laughter cracked across the gym floor. It wasn't sharp yet. Not mean, just playful, thrown around like a medicine ball. But the noise gathered quickly. Sound travels faster in places built for sweat and echo. Someone else added, "Careful, Eli. She might take your belt and your mop." Eli Grant, gloves slung over his shoulder, stood near the water cooler already performing. He grinned, looked around for witnesses, then tipped his chin toward her. "I mean, if she wants to go one round, we can clear the ring. Might learn a thing or two about deep cleaning." The comments bounced from wall to wall. A guy near the freeway started recording. 2 fitness girls near the mirror rack turned toward the noise. One raising a phone, the other whispering with a smirk. The energy shifted. Something was starting. Eli stepped onto the mat. "She's already dressed for a funeral," someone called. "Might as well make it one." She was still wiping the vinyl. No rush, no reaction. Just smoothed the cloth down the corner pad and stood back up. Brandon, the junior coach, leaned over the ropes and laughed. "You want in? I'll mark it down. We got an open round before lunch." She didn't speak. The front desk guy, Kyle, walked over with a dry marker and tilted the whiteboard hanging next to the lockers. "Name?" he asked, pen hovering. "Or should I just put janitor?" "Put mop," someone said. "It's shorter." The gym cracked up again. Kyle scrolled it on the board. Sparring schedule 12:20, Eli versus mop. She didn't blink. Just turned, walked to her cart, and reached beneath the towel bin. Her gloves were tucked into the side pocket, patched, weather-worn, fingers darkened where the leather had rubbed thin. She carried them back with one hand and stepped toward the ring. A man filming from the treadmill said, "This is going to go viral. Someone cue the Rocky theme." Eli bounced in place, stretching his neck side to side. "I'll go easy," he called out. "Don't want her quitting halfway through round one. That floor is not going to mop itself." A few more phones came out. A girl in a branded tank top leaned toward her friend, whispered, "She doesn't actually think this is real, does she?" Her friend laughed, lifting her phone. "It's going to be quick. Blink and you miss it." The bell above the ring wasn't used for official bouts, but someone smacked it anyway just for effect. The sound rang out, clanging against the air like a countdown. Brandon tossed Eli his mouthguard and leaned over the ropes again. "You want gloves, Mop?" he snorted. "Not that you'll need them long." She stepped into the ring, silent, head down. No fanfare, her badge still clipped to her waistband, her sleeves rolled once at the wrist. She set the gloves on the floor, knelt beside them, and started wrapping her hands, slow and precise. She didn't look up. A group of trainees clustered near the edge of the mat. $10 says she bails before the round starts, one said. 15 says she gets knocked out in under 20 seconds, another added. Someone nearby pulled out a protein bar, already settling in. Eli's crew lined the ropes laughing, raising him with friendly trash talk. "Try not to hit her too hard, champ. Might lose your gym discount. Tell her to aim for your mop instead." The sign posted next to the whiteboard read, "No sparring without coach clearance." No one seemed to care. She finished taping her wrists, pulled on the gloves, and stood slowly. Her eyes flicked once toward Eli. He grinned like he'd already won. She adjusted the strap on her right glove and gave it a single tug. No smile, no response. Then she walked to her corner and waited. The crowd leaned in, and the room buzzed louder. The bell rang once, clean and sharp, and Eli stepped forward with a bounce in his knees and a grin fixed on his face. He rolled his shoulders, threw a light jab to the air, and turned a slow circle for the audience forming just beyond the ropes. Someone clapped. Someone else hooped. A phone chimed as it started to record. She didn't move. She stood in her corner, gloves resting at her waist, feet still. Her shoulders stayed loose, her chin tucked without tension. She didn't blink when he stepped closer. "All right," Eli called out, half laughing. "We're dancing or cleaning today." He jabbed again, this time toward her chest, loose, measured, a play gesture. She slipped it one step to the left. No counter. The crowd chuckled. "Show her the broomstick combo." Someone near the dumbbell rack shouted. Eli threw 2 more punches, a jab and a cross. She wasn't there when they landed. Her back foot pivoted. He missed by inches. Brandon leaned over the ropes, smirking. "Got a punch where she's standing, not where she was yesterday." She shifted again, weight gliding left, then back. Her eyes never left Eli's chest, not once. More laughter rippled through the gym. Phones hovered higher now. Someone near the front desk muttered, "She's just dodging, not even trying to throw." Another voice answered, "Yeah, 'cause she doesn't know how." Eli closed the gap and tapped his gloves together. "Come on," he said. "You're just making me look good now." He stepped in, dropped low for a hook, and she rolled under it clean. He missed air. Her shoes barely made a sound against the canvas. One of the coaches paused mid-conversation and turned toward the ring. A pause in the laughter. She stepped left, eyes still locked on Eli's ribs, tracking his breath, his weight. A veteran trainer with a clipboard leaned forward from the bench by the bags. His eyes narrowed. "Wait," he said under his breath. Eli tried again, this time faster, throwing a right with more weight. She ducked and spun off the line. His glove hit air. The crowd got quieter. Not silent, not yet, but quieter. Someone near the mirrors whispered, "She's not just dodging. She's reading him." The clipboard trainer nodded, barely audible. "That's not beginner stuff. That's drilled." Eli's grin thinned. He stepped in harder now, shoulder forward, a combo building. She waited, her body coiled, not tense but balanced. He wound up. Her right foot slid an inch. Her weight shifted. Then she struck. One punch. A tight hook, flat and fast, aimed below the ribs. It landed with a sound that didn't echo but sank. A deep thud. Blunt. Final. Eli stopped. His hands dropped. He staggered once and went down, folding hard at the waist and dropping to his knees. His face went pale. He clutched his side, gasping but not speaking. His head hung low. No movement. Phones lowered. The gym fell into stillness. The clipboard trainer was already moving, stepping into the ring with a hand raised. "Back," he said, voice sharp. "Don't touch him yet." Brandon climbed the apron, eyes wide. Is he breathing okay? Yeah, the trainer said, crouching low. She got him clean. Someone dropped their phone. It hit the mat with a soft plastic clap. The front desk monitor buzzed, still playing music, but no one listened now. Eli rolled slightly, grimacing. His breath shallow and short. The color hadn't returned to his face. His gloves rested limp against the mat. No one laughed. No one spoke. She stepped back once, her stance relaxed, her gloves hung by her sides. She didn't look at the crowd. She didn't speak. Just waited until someone moved toward Eli, then turned toward her corner. The clipboard trainer looked up and said quietly, "She's trained." That was real. The bell above the ring hung still. The sound of the mop bucket wheel from across the gym clicked once. The gym stayed silent. The gym hadn't moved. The air was still thick, stretched tight between the ring ropes and the silence that had fallen after Eli hit the mat. The only sound was his breathing, shallow and wet like something curled in on itself. A few of the trainees hovered by the ropes, unsure whether to film or disappear. The front desk monitor continued playing a playlist nobody heard. Phones hung useless at their sides. Nobody was laughing anymore. Then the front door opened. Coach Ben stepped in, keys still in hand, wind tugging the edge of his hoodie. He was the kind of man whose silence carried weight, who didn't bother talking unless it meant something. His boots echoed once on the concrete before he stopped just past the welcome mat. His eyes were on the ring. He saw her before he saw anyone else. For a second, nothing moved. Then his voice broke through the stillness, not loud but heavy. "Is that Lena in the ring?" Everyone turned, not toward him, toward her. She didn't look up. She was standing near Eli, one hand resting on the top rope, gloves now untied. Her breathing was calm. Her badge still clipped to her waist. The sweat on her neck had already begun to dry. Ben stepped forward. "Someone want to tell me why you've got Lena Foster in janitor's clothes sparring the gym's amateur clown?" The words didn't register at first, not fully. One of the younger coaches blinked. "Wait," he said, uncertain. "Her name's what?" Ben kept walking. "Lena Foster. Southpaw. 3-time regional lightweight champ. Ran defense drills in this building before half of you were throwing straight punches." A murmur went up along the wall. One of the trainees, still clutching a shaker bottle, whispered, "No way. That can't be her." Ben pointed toward the wall behind the treadmill bay. "Go check the photo over there, back when the ring was duct-taped and the lights didn't work right. She's in the middle row. Blue gloves, cracked knuckles, same eyes." Someone jogged over. There was the photo, half-faded. A time-stamped artifact hung behind a cracked piece of plastic. He stared, then stared harder. "Oh my God," he said quietly. "She's in the picture. That's her." Brandon stepped down off the apron, eyes moving between the ring and the whiteboard. His voice was flat. I didn't know." "You didn't ask," Ben said. "You just looked." Another coach crossed to the ring post, crouched, and ran a finger along the inside edge. The corner was marked, faint, rubbed half away with time, but still legible. A name in black marker. Clean cursive script. L. Foster. Brandon swallowed hard. "We didn't know. You knew enough." "To mock her," Ben said, voice low. "You knew enough to laugh. That's always easier." Someone near the desk had turned off the playlist. The silence spread wider. Eli was still down. The trainer next to him waved for ice, for water. Lena stepped back, letting them do their job. She offered no instruction, just stood there, present. Her gloves rested beside her shoes. Her cart was still parked by the locker hallway, untouched. A towel hung limp over the side. A woman who had been recording lowered her phone and slid it into her bag. Her eyes didn't meet anyone else's. One of the guys who'd shouted earlier leaned against the wall, now arms crossed over his chest, face blank. Nobody said her name again. Not yet. Ben walked to the edge of the ring and rested both hands on the middle rope. He didn't smile. Didn't need to. "She used to coach here," he said quietly. "Before the renovation, before the sponsorships and merch deals, back when you fought to get time on the mat and you knew not to waste it." The silence deepened. "She didn't need to prove anything," Ben added. "And she still doesn't." Lena stepped to the edge of the ring, peeled the tape from her wrists, and tossed it into a nearby bin. Her hands were steady. Her face was unreadable. She didn't address the crowd, didn't nod, didn't speak. She climbed out of the ring and walked past Ben. He didn't stop her. Just spoke to the room, his eyes still on the ropes. "She's the reason you're even standing here." She picked up the mop. No one asked her to. No one would have dared. But she walked to the corner where her cart sat, exactly where she'd left it, and wrapped the blue sweatshirt tighter around her waist before leaning the mop handle against her shoulder. The wheel still squeaked every few feet as she rolled the cart past the ring. Every head turned as she moved, but no one spoke. Brandon stepped back to let her pass. He'd been standing in the hallway near the posters, one of which, until 5 minutes ago, had read, "Lightweight Challenge, who's brave enough," in thick black marker. He pulled it down as she walked by, folding it once before tucking it under his arm. At the front desk, Kal erased the whiteboard slowly. Eli versus Mop. He didn't try to be casual about it. The letters squeaked under the cloth, stubborn in places. When the ink finally faded, he put the marker away and didn't write anything new. The woman who had live-streamed the match earlier sat on the edge of the bench, scrolling her feed with both thumbs. She tapped the video, deleted it, then scrolled again, slower. Near the locker hallway, a trainee who'd made one of the louder jokes stood by the wall of gloves, staring down at his own hands like they didn't belong to him. He didn't move until she passed. Then he stepped aside without a word. She didn't look at any of them. Instead, she wiped down the counter by the vending machines, picked up a half-empty protein shake someone had left behind, and tossed it in the bin. She wheeled her cart through the rear corridor, paused to refill the spray bottle, then returned to the main floor. Nobody laughed. Nobody filmed. Even the playlist was paused. The gym felt smaller than before. She cleaned like she always had, quietly, without stopping. Her gloves, still damp from the round, hung on a towel hook near the radiator behind the desk. The drip was slow, steady. Someone folded a hoodie nearby, but looked away quickly when she glanced in their direction. Tony, one of the older coaches, stood at the far end of the gym with his arms crossed. His expression wasn't quite regret. It was more like recognition, but muted. He nodded once as she passed. She didn't nod back. By the time she'd finished wiping down the dumbbell racks, most of the trainees had left the floor. A few lingered, shadow boxing or stretching, but no one spoke above a whisper. The sparring schedule was blank. The gloves were hung with more care than usual. Even the floor mats seemed quieter underfoot. When she reached the back door, she paused, then turned. The ring stood empty, the ropes slack with stillness. The light above cast long shadows across the mat, staining it with the outlines of bodies no longer there. She looked at it just once, then nodded and left. The next morning, the gym opened on time. The music was lower. The conversations softer. Someone cleaned the bench near the window before using it. A new towel stack sat perfectly even. On the wall above the lockers, taped to the metal siding with clear tape, was a sheet of paper. No color, no title, just a quote written in block letters. She didn't say a word. We heard her anyway. She didn't return, but the gym never forgot her. You just watched a simple woman, underestimated for the way she dressed, the job she held, and the silence she kept. She didn't correct anyone. She didn't need to. In a space built on noise and performance, she let action speak for her. What they thought was weakness was discipline. What they mocked was mastery. And when the truth came, it came without anger, without a single word spoken, just clarity. This story isn't about revenge. It's about presence. About knowing who you are, even when no one else does. It's a reminder that strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it cleans the ring and walks away. If this story stayed with you, take a moment to reflect. Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you believe in stories that honor quiet power, follow for more. There are more voices like hers. You just have to listen.